Good morning. My name's Ken Gale from Hurley Decarb, and I'm here today to speak about my experiences in the Arctic. We went to the Arctic this August, and we took a sailing yacht from Tromsø, as you can see. That's the red mapped area there, which is halfway between Norway and the North Pole. We went for the perpetual sunshine, so it's sunshine 24 hours a day, and we were expecting better weather than what we got. That's the nature of this presentation. So normally in the Arctic, where we are in Svalbard, which is where we got the yacht, for 8 months of the year, 9 months of the year, it's totally frozen. When we went there, because of the global warming issues at the site, we had free sailing. So the headlines are really about the Arctic is predicted to be ice-free by the end of the century. And as it says, Nature Journal is stating that polar bears been extinct in less than 80 years. So what according to the Norwegian Centre for Climate Services, the average temperatures have risen there 4 degrees since 1970, and the winter has risen by 7 degrees. So there's been a decline every decade since 1979 of 12% of the sea ice. So that's affecting the Barents Sea, the fishing, everything else. In terms of the temperatures in Svalbard, the highest temperature recorded was last year. It's nearly 22 degrees centigrade. So now the warm weather starts in May, finishes in September. 10 years ago, begin in July, finished in August. This is what we went for. You can see our yacht. That's me looking down at an iceberg. We're in Nielsen, which is a research centre. The second photo is almost something out of Jurassic Park. That's the kind of scenery we saw. This is one of my photographs from a yacht. We jostle amongst icebergs. The bottom left is a Russian town built right next to a glacier. It's been abandoned. It's become a tourist attraction. That's a photo I took of a glacier, literally from the yacht. You can see the cruise ship in the foreground, and that's the size of the glacier that exists, that's retreating at the moment. This final shot is on the western side of Svalbard, and that's the remains of what used to be glaciers, and now it's all melted, and effectively it's just sandbanks. So my experience actually was in a storm, so we weren't expecting this storm. We went into safe haven in front of this Polish research centre. It was a force 10 storm. We saw 3 of these water cyclones up against the glacier. The glacier was calving, so effectively dropping icebergs. We were on anchor. We basically got hit by icebergs, so we were forced to move out to sea. That, just as it states, that water spouts are unheard of in the Arctic. Certainly 50-metre high ones at sea. And it was literally like being in a CGI movie. So the kind of science behind that is on the yacht itself, we have some software which enables us to predict wind speeds, so we can chart our course. The bottom left shows you what we were expecting. This copycat, which is I took from an Atlantic one, shows what we actually got. We got a force 10 storm, and you can see it was greater than force 10. We were at 55 knots of wind. When the weather got a little bit better, I took that photo on the left-hand side to give you an idea of what that actually looks like. If I run this, hopefully it runs. Yeah, this is, you can see here, 50 knots of wind. So why is that unusual? Well, sailors go into the Arctic and we plan our routes. So we were looking at historical data, and on a Buford scale, we got a log on board the yacht, which predicts winds, and you can see that's an actual copy of what we had on board. It's unknown. There's never been a force 10 recorded wind in that month, in that period for that year. And the highest one that was ever recorded was a force 7, and then it gave us a probability of 0.1%. So quite unusual, quite dangerous. So we having been hit by the icebergs, which is one of the smaller ones. The larger ones were the size of transit vans. They call them growlers because the bit above the sea is probably only 1/10 of the size of the thing that's actually going to hit you. We moved out to the fjord, jostled amongst all the icebergs, got across the bay, across the fjord, and got to the other side. Or everyone intact, boat a bit damaged, but otherwise sound. So in terms of what we expected, this is what you'd expect on the left-hand side, typical day. This is one of the shots crossing the next day to Bear Island, and that squall itself is I'm a former round-the-world yachtsman. I've been in the Antarctic. I've seen quite a lot of things, but that squall looks nothing. We got into it. We put the minimum amount of sail up, and it was full of energy. It was quite scary just going into that small squall. So what does that mean for the people along Britain? What it means is the temperatures are increasing, the weather's changing. What's happening to them is this mountainside is usually constantly all the way through your permafrost. In other words, solid ground. Now it's melting. So a lot of these buildings were on wooden foundations. They're rotting away. In terms of the rainfall, they've got increased rainfall. They've got an amazing global seed vault built into the side of the mountain. That got flooded last year. There was an avalanche 2 years ago in the town. It wiped out 40 of the houses, killed 2 people. So effectively now all these houses have been rebuilt and moved, and they're all passive houses. So they're all designed around the passive idea, and effectively they're rebuilding the town. So the town of Longbourn is their capital city. So in terms of, I did some really straightforward analysis, and I was like, well, why, what are the drivers for all of this? So effectively, I just looked at the temperatures from now, which is roughly the area above that red line, where it's not freezing, and the amount of time it spends above freezing. And effectively, at the moment, they've gone for 4 or 5 months of the year, the temperature's above that 0 degrees, and effectively the whole place, the glaciers are melting, the ground is melting, it's all thawing. You go back to 1977, 79, there's less time spent above freezing, and there's only 3 months, roughly 3 months, and that pattern is repeating itself. So in terms of what are the other factors there, well, as we know, the North Atlantic drift, in terms of how just so you know, North Atlantic drift starts at Florida, warm waters, circulates and keeps, as you can see right at the top right, it keeps Svalbard, the west side of the island, quite warm, so navigable, but it's increasing, water temperature is increasing. In terms of rainfall, in terms of avalanches, if it rains a lot in the winter, you get ice. So basically it rains, it gets cooler ice, and then more snow comes on top of that ice, and then next thing you know, you've got more avalanches. And as you can see, of all the main towns, in terms of total rainfall per millimeters per day, it's growing exponentially. So it's wetter, it's warmer. So as that rainfall increases, the ice around the shores disappear, and what's happening is the calm weather's being replaced by coastal storms. So what can I say in summary? So in summary, in terms of the island itself, the people of Svalbard, and in terms of, there's about 2,500 people there, half of them Russians, Brits are there, the Belgians are there. They're on the frontier of climate change breakdown. The temperature in Longbourn has increased above the long-term average every month for the last 100 months. And there's nowhere on Earth that's heating it faster. So since 1971, temperatures increased by 4 degrees, which is 5 times faster than the global average. In the winter, the changes are more marked, and they've gone up astonishing 7 degrees. So, in terms of what the people along Bruges doing about it, what is the Norwegian government doing about it? Well, they're kind of flipping it on its head. So if you lived in Longbrugen, you would have the highest carbon footprint in Europe because of the fact that they have a coal power district heat network right through the town, and they have their own airport. But as you can see, this is a building this is the further education college which they built last year to very high standard. But it's all triple glazed, mechanical heat ventilation, all the things that you would do to your estate, or you want to do to your hospital estate. They're doing it. So they're transforming the town. They're moving the houses. They're changing the foundations. They're literally transforming the whole of the town itself. So they're building they're at the consultation stage at the moment, but basically their plan is to build their first hydrogen power plant, and it will generate electricity, obviously water byproduct, and basically they pave the way for know-how for Norway. To do that, they're actually changing all the building services in the town, and they're targeting to be carbon neutral by within 10 years. So that's the end of my presentation. Hurley Decarb, we're on stand A25. I'm the director of the energy team. We do similar things to Vital. We produce heat decarbonisation plans. We put in infrastructure, change out boilers, your plant rooms, and reduce your energy consumption. But the savings for itself, but the savings we make pay for the cost of that installation. Thank you for listening to my talk.